Imagine if someone told you in 1995 that a small online bookstore called Amazon would create thousands of millionaires. Or that buying property near Silicon Valley in the early 2000s would turn ordinary homeowners into multimillionaires. Most people would have laughed. But today, something even bigger is happening. Right now, artificial intelligence is creating an entirely new class of millionaires at a speed we have never seen before. And while most people are focused on AI stocks and the latest tech breakthroughs, smart investors are quietly making a very different bet. They're buying real estate near AI hubs. Because history shows that whenever a new technology creates massive wealth, real estate is usually one of the biggest winners. Are we witnessing the biggest wealth transfer in history? And if so, where should investors be looking before everyone else catches on? Every major technological revolution has created winners. The Industrial Revolution created factory owners. The Internet Revolution created tech billionaires. The smartphone revolution created companies worth trillions. But AI is different. Because it's happening faster than any technological shift we've ever seen. Companies that barely existed a few years ago are now worth billions. Employees who receive stock options are suddenly becoming millionaires. Venture capital firms are pouring billions into AI startups every single quarter. And many experts believe we're still in the very early stages. Millions of people around the world are about to gain access to wealth that simply didn't exist before. And when people become wealthy, they don't keep all their money in a bank account. They buy assets. Historically, one of the first assets they buy is real estate. Because money doesn't just create wealth. It changes entire cities. Let's look at what happened during previous technology booms. When Silicon Valley exploded, housing prices surged. When Seattle became a tech powerhouse, real estate values skyrocketed. When Austin attracted technology companies, investors who got in early saw enormous gains. The pattern is surprisingly simple. High-paying jobs arrive. Workers relocate. Demand for housing increases. Property values rise. Now AI is creating the same conditions all over again. The difference is speed. AI companies are scaling faster, hiring faster, raising capital faster, and potentially creating wealth faster than any previous generation. Smart investors understand something important. You don't necessarily need to invest in AI companies to benefit from AI. You can invest in the real estate that benefits from AI growth. And sometimes that's the less risky approach. Most people wait until a market becomes famous. That's usually when the biggest gains have already happened. Smart investors do the opposite. They look for signals. Where are AI companies opening offices? Where are engineers moving? Where are venture capital firms investing? Where are data centers being built? Where are universities producing top AI talent? These locations often become the next real estate hotspots. Because talent attracts companies. Companies attract capital. Capital attracts jobs. And jobs create housing demand. If thousands of highly paid AI professionals suddenly move into a city, they're going to need places to live. Meanwhile, housing supply can't be created overnight. When demand rises faster than supply, prices tend to move higher. Not after it becomes obvious. Before. Here's where things get really interesting. Most people assume AI will only benefit major tech cities. But that's not necessarily true. AI infrastructure requires massive amounts of computing power. That means data centers, energy infrastructure, industrial real estate, warehousing, and supporting businesses. In other words, AI creates secondary winners. Cities that support AI growth can experience significant economic expansion, even if they're not traditional technology hubs. And that's where investors may find opportunities before mainstream attention arrives. The biggest returns often come from identifying trends before headlines start talking about them. Once everyone knows about an opportunity, much of the easy money has already been made. Now, let's be clear. Not every city will become an AI hub. Not every property will be a great investment. And not every technology boom leads to endless growth. That's why smart investors focus on fundamentals. Strong job growth, population growth, limited housing supply, healthy rental demand, economic expansion. If those factors aren't present, AI alone isn't enough to justify an investment. The goal isn't chasing hype. The goal is identifying real demand. The AI revolution is already creating enormous wealth. And history suggests that wealth eventually flows into real estate. That's why some of the smartest investors aren't just buying AI stocks. They're positioning themselves in markets that could benefit from the next wave of AI-driven growth. Because if this truly becomes the biggest wealth transfer in history, the biggest winners may not be the people who talk about it. They may be the people who act before everyone else. Which city do you think will become the next AI-powered real estate hotspot? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to UDC and turn on notifications, because the next decade could create opportunities most people won't see coming.